Thank you. Okay, so today, as promised, we're going to be doing some watercolor. But first, I would like you guys to take a picture or a screenshot or have this image on a different device. Um, Either one works, whatever works for you to kind of see the reference. I will also bring up the actual snow globe that, um, is from this image. Um, but with that being said, I'll just give you 2 minutes to kind of get yourself sorted. And then I also recommend that you have a piece of paper, pencil, erasers, and the watercolor, of course, some water, and a paper towel, and then the paintbrushes. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to get your supplies ready and your image taken care of, and then we'll get started for sure.
Farah, can we use acrylic?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to use acrylic. I also had another suggestion. Just give me 1 second. If you guys have pencil colors like this, you can also color it in if you would like, or a little tip, especially the Crayola brand. I don't know if you can see the Crayola brand. Actually, it dissolves in water and it gives you a watercolor effect. And I'll show you an example. So even if you don't have like watercolor paints, or maybe you don't have acrylic paints, even these will work and they will melt in the water. And I'll show you an example. Just 1 second.
Thank you.
So here's the example of how if you were to use these regular pencil colors, they'll actually melt in the water and it will make it look like it's watercolor. So you can kind of can see that it still has that textured pencil look, but it still like dissolves in water. So even if you have just acrylic, if you have just watercolor paints, it will work for today. And also, once you guys have your materials set, I wanted to explain a different approach that I'm going to take. I wanted to do the basic stuff first on paper, not complete the image, because I still want you to follow through with the process and how to draw the snow globe that we have here. But I want to show you kind of where it's placed and how big the size should be on the paper. And then that way you guys can kind of follow along. So if we're ready, I'll give you 1 more minute and then begin explaining how I got this circle and then how I got not all of the blades, but some of the blades from the windmill and then the bottom half of the snow globe, without adding any details just quite yet. So I'll give you 1 more minute. All right, so how I got the first part of the globe is with my pencil. Let me just move this to the side. I didn't have a perfect circle to trace for this globe, but if you do, I recommend grabbing something. So, for example, I have a roll of tape and just trace around it. The globe is going to be big. I recommend always drawing bigger on your paper than smaller. So that way we can get all the details, and also in terms of proportion, things would look better. So again, for the globe, pretty simple step. I just took a roll, or if you even have a plate or something circular to trace around, you can do that. Or you can freehand it, just like how I did. And I drew the circle basically taking up more than half of my page. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to get your globe um, first on the paper, and then I'll show you how I made the base. All right. So after we get our circles on the page, that's the most important part of the snow globe, is to have a globe, have that sphere. So just trying our best to make it as circular as possible, even if it's free-handed and a little wonky, just like my circle. It's okay. It gives it a little bit of charm. And again, making sure that we're tracing very lightly, not committing to anything quite yet. And also, with the watercolor painting or the acrylic painting or the pencil crayons, what we want to do is to keep very, very light lines. We don't want to have any black show in our painting, because then it would look a little bit messy. And also, water with the pencil lead will smudge, and it will be pretty difficult to remove that muddy look. So again, very light-handed, even lighter than this. Even if you have an eraser, maybe just lightly rubbing it on the page to pick up any of the lead. But how I got the base, I started off with a rectangle. And then with my rectangle, which you can also see it is on top, it goes through my circle. So with my rectangle, that went through not all of my circle, but just the bottom part of it, I rounded off the corners. I made them slightly round. So again, we have a rectangle, and I made the corners slightly round. And now I can erase this line or keep it to act as the ground where my windmill will be. So I'll give you a second to have your big circle, the circle is bigger than the base. In terms of proportion. All right. So again, we are working on the circle and we're working on our rectangular base. And then I'll show you how I made the fence, still lacking some detail, that wood grain and the ribbon and the lavender flowers. Still missing some details. Also, we only have some of the windmill, not all. And then again, no windows or ground to stand on. So right now we're just working our way through the basic parts of the snow globe. Um, and although there is an hour and 16 minutes left, I would think that we are able to get the sketch done and also have time to paint, but we are in no rush. If we have to paint in the next um, part of class, we will do that, but I think we should be good for time. Okay. So after we got our globe and we got the base, the way that I had done this fence, and it's very simple, I'll even erase it to show you how to recreate it. So how I want to create these fences is, again, try to evenly space it as possible. These rectangles, again, very geometric. We're still on that same theme. So creating rectangles again and again and again and again, but making sure they're not too thin, they're not too wide. So for example, I should not have a fence like this because it does not look like these fences on our globe. So again, making sure they're evenly spaced to our best of our abilities. If you have a ruler, that's fine. But again, there's something charming about freehand drawings that don't exactly replicate the image that we are referencing. All right. Please let me know if we are moving too fast or if we're moving too slow. But right now we have our globe, and I showed you how to get the base, which again, the base is only tiny in comparison to compared to the globe. The globe is almost the size of the pencil, and whereas the base is only tiny, just about the tip and some length. And I also showed you how to draw the um, fence again, rectangular, and then you round off the top. After you have repeated it, um, what we will do is find the middle section of the fence, roughly, again, doesn't have to be perfect, and create a curved line. Create a curved line from one end to the other to copy this ribbon. So this ribbon on the globe isn't quite in the center, it's almost more to the top. But again, just a straight, simple, rectangular line, curved all the way through. And then I'll show you how to do the bow after we get our line on the paper. Making sure that the lighting is good and all of you can see the screen. I'm just cleaning up any of the smudging that is on my paper. So now that I have this line that is in the center of our fence, what we need to do is to draw the bow. So for the bow, I'll find the center of my fence. And just right here, what I'll do is I'll create a triangle very lightly. And I'll make it wider. Just allow me to fix it. Uh, So after we have created that upside down triangle, what we are going to do is complete the top half of our bow. And for that one, I will draw an oval. So allow me to show you how. So now that we have our globe and the sphere and the rectangular base with the rounded corners, and then our rectangular fences with the rounded tops, and then a straight, thin line, rectangular line for the ribbon and the bow. What we will do now is go to the slightly difficult part of creating those windmill blades. So I'll show you how you can get these windmill blades, which are bigger than the building. So no matter which way I move this, the air bubble is always blocking it. But just seeing that the building is smaller than the blades. So I will start with the blades first. So how I have it is I created, and I made sure to leave one of the blades undone. Um, what I have done is I created an X, a really big X, in the center. Actually, not quite the center, the top third of my page. So it almost takes up half of the globe. I created a really big X. So those lines right here, make sure to start off with a big X. And then from there, I'll show you how to build these blades up. So again, start with a circle, tiny circle, and then a big X in your page. Again, I'll show you how I created those blades. Start with a circle in your globe. And then create that X in your page to create this. That is how we will start. And then draw a slightly bigger circle. And we will erase and clean up the lines. So notice how there's no lines here. We will erase these lines and the ones that go through here. And then what we will do is add V's or arrows. They kind of look like arrows now to create the wind blades. So I'll give you a second to catch up. All right, to show you how I got the basic shape of the blade, what I will do is create, again, with back to my arrow, but then erasing that tip and only leaving the sidelines. I will create a rectangle. Again, very geometric. So I've created a rectangle that is wider at the bottom, at the base, and kind of thins out towards the center. Still with my first X line going through the center of my rectangle. Making sure it's as straight as possible, not really wonky or curvy. So again, keep those thin lines and use a light hand, not a heavy hand when you're sketching. All right. Now, in order to create a more rounded windmill blade shape, I will just create a rounded corner for my rectangular blade. So again, straight parallel lines, but now rounded corners. To mimic, ignore the huge air bubble, but to mimic these designs on the blade. And we'll also add the many different squares or rectangles on onto our own globe. Again, but starting very basic. And we have 57 minutes, so we have plenty of time to add any other details. So I'll give you time to catch up, and now you're all caught up to the basics of this globe. And then we'll add all the details that make it the lovely globe it is, with the flowers and the building, and then the purple grass, and then the white flowers as well, and a little bit of green grass, and then the wood grain. So we'll add the details in a second. So now is the time to kind of catch up. I'll make sure to give you 5 minutes. That way you can adjust or make any details bigger or smaller, or even revisit the reference picture to see if it looks similar, a little bit different, if you want to have it bigger, smaller. All right. So now what our next step will be is to create the building with the windmill. Um, so right here, if I can turn the back to show it better, um, rectangular with some triangle roof. So I'll show you how to create that. Um, and then a very wide base. So I'll show you how to recreate this. From the front, oh, shaken up. From the front, it's not very visible because that blade covers it. But from the back, it's the same thing. So I'll just reference the back to show you how it would look like if it wasn't covered. So what we're first going to do, let me set this aside. What we're first going to do is create a rectangle. Yet again, more rectangles for our snow globe. But first, I'm going to create a line that connects to both of the blades. Then I'm going to create yet another line. So I'm going to create that rectangle. It's very thin, but we'll widen it at the bottom in just 1 second. So I have placed a rectangle in my globe. So I'll give you 1 second to create that rectangle. And then erasing any lines I wish not to keep anymore to kind of clean things up as we're going. And then this is where I would widen the base, not by a lot, but just to visibly make a difference. And then create yet another rectangle. So I have a rectangle at the bottom of my snow globe. Then I have a rectangle in the center. I'll give you a second to create it, and then I'll be back with some water. I assume we have 50 minutes, so just shy from an hour to paint. So I'll fill up the water and then come back. And I'll grab some paintbrushes. I think I need more than three, but if you have just one, that's fine. I just like to go through them a lot. Um, and I'll grab some paper towel to make sure I can clean it as we're working through our painting. So, 2 minutes to catch up, and I'll be back. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to erase and clean up. And then from there, we're going to create yet another triangle. And the same for this one, but mirrored. So again, a lot of overlapping shapes, but we will clean it up. So now we have a rectangle and another one, and then two triangles on each side. Trying to make them as straight as possible. And then even connecting and then we'll do some cleanup. So right now it looks like there's just a skirt for our building. Just erasing any sketch lines we don't want to keep anymore. So right now it should look something like this. Also on my page, there are some smudges that aren't coming off, and that's because I drew too rough. So again, although I'm not too worried about it, that it can be covered up with the paint that we are going to be using. Again, I recommend using a very light hand when you are drawing, sketching on watercolor paper. So I'll give you a second to recreate this. And I believe we have 43 minutes left, so we should be good to go to at least maybe get some painting started. Maybe if not all, regardless. All right. And then now what we will do is create the top. So just showing this again. The top, which is like a cone, triangular cone. And then we'll also add the window. So we'll get with that triangular cone. So in order to do that, what we will do is, again, draw a triangle. Very lightly. And try to make it as symmetrical as possible. I do notice that one of the sides is bigger than the other, but that's okay. Then what we'll do is erase the line. So again, the blades are on top of our building. They're in the foreground. So if we didn't add the blades for the fan, for the windmill, it would look like a rocket almost. All right, and now the next step is to add that window in the center of our windmill. Again, yet another rectangle. Very teeny and tiny. And then we will draw the window panes. So rectangles within smaller rectangles. There you go. So on the camera, it looks very smudged and, not crisp, but try to your best ability to create those straight edges for the window panes. And let's see, we have 37 minutes, so just about half an hour to get to painting, but we still do have the flowers to add and the details in the fan. So what we're gonna do is first of all, actually create those, let me turn it around. If it is picked up on camera, there are lines going through the building. So we will recreate that. So just very lightly. Creating those lines. Then after that is done, what we're gonna do is create those tiny rectangles in our blade. So again, I'll add one here, so then I have to add one here, all the way down the fan, and they just get smaller and smaller as you get closer to the end. So there should be 12 on each side. So try to space in them evenly. All right. And I'll give you a couple of seconds to catch up. And with roughly 32 minutes remaining, I think we just have enough time to create the lavender now. But I'll give you 5 minutes to make sure you're all caught up with the design. All right, now with the 30 minutes that remain, what we're going to do is try to create um, the lavender. And now what I'm going to do for the lavender, for these flowers, is actually create the jagged rough edges. So the shape, but I'm not going to draw each individual bud because that's actually something we're going to be painting. I just want to place where this should be on our globe. So I'll explain just in 1 second. Facing the front. So for this one, because the flowers come off of the globe, I'm actually going to draw this wobbly line. There's no specific way, so all of our flowers will look different, but this very wobbly line, very lightly as well. Something like this. There's really no explanation how to do it other than just creating wobbly lines to kind of mimic these wobbly lines for the flower. So something like that. All right, so once we got our rough lines, I'll just erase this part of the globe. So now we have something that looks like this. So they are starting to look similar. I will also say that I might have put my fence too high. So I'll see if we have time to adjust it because the flowers are actually almost bigger than the fence. And again, just cleaning up any lines that we don't want anymore. But our globe should stay. And then I will create these bottom legs. So if we have it like this, we can only see two. And for that one, there again, two rectangles. There you go. It's starting to look not so bad, looks good. With 24 minutes left, what we will do is draw the white flowers where they should be. Or I'm thinking maybe we can actually leave that part out and just paint it instead. Let's see, what other things do we need to add? I think we're ready for painting with the 25, sorry, minutes that remain. So I'll just grab some paint. And I'll start with the ribbon. So make sure you erase as much pencil as possible, but still it remains so we can paint over it. But just making sure it's very, very light. And as clean as possible. So I'll grab my brush. And it's it's a small one, not the tiniest one, but just the size of my nail. So actually, before I start painting, am I able to see what you guys have drawn out so far? So can I see your pictures just to make sure that we're all caught up and we can start painting? Nice. Okay, I see Carlene's. So we're ready to move on to painting. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay. So I'm just grabbing my paintbrush and a tiny bit of water, just dipping it to activate the shade of purple I want. Now, if you have a watercolor palette that does not have purple in it, I can show you how to make purple. To get purple, you need red and blue. More blue than red. So I'll take some from here. I'll put it over here. I'll grab as much as I can. And then I'll grab some red and then start mixing. And there you go. I have made a purple that is very deep. But since this palette also has a purple, just to compare them to each other, they look quite similar. So if you don't know how to make purple, it's just red and blue. And it gives you purple. But if you have purple that already exists, you're more than welcome to use it. But the shade that I'm going for is light in color. It's almost like a lilac, lavender color. So what I will do is just put this aside. All right. And I'm just going to paint the bow. So with the watercolor, you need to use water. If you have acrylic, you can also just use acrylic paint, or you can also water them down. So you can squeeze a tiny bit of the paint and then pour some water over it and mix, mix, mix to create a wash of color. Or again, if you have um, pencil colors, they actually dissolve in water, so you're more than welcome to use that as well. Yeah. So just slightly grabbing my purple and then very lightly following that line. To create that ribbon. And for me, you can still see my pencil, and I'm keeping that way so you guys can follow along. Um, Otherwise, I can cover it up or erase it completely. But for you, it would look something different, more cleaner. And then again, doing the same color for my bow. Again, same brush. There you go. Now for the flowers. Again, with just 18 minutes remaining, what we will do is grab a shade of purple closer to this. So if you want to make this shade, you would add more red than you would add blue. So I'll show you how to make that as well. So again, I want this shade for my flowers. So what I will do is dip my clean brush into some water and go in with the red, a lot of red. Then I'll clean my brush again. And then dip my clean brush into some blue and mix it. Now I added a lot of blue. So now it looks like a grape color. So I'll restart, but this time go in with the blue first, adding a tiny bit. Yeah. And making sure my brush is clean. So give me 1 second. And then adding that red. And then also adding some yellow to brighten it up. Maybe adding a little bit more blue. I just made another purplish grape shade. Now it looks like almost like a bloody color. The way it's picking up on camera is different than it is in person. But again, with mixing colors, adding too much or too little can really make a difference. And now it's deep purple. I'm just trying to make this color, so I'm not really sure why I'm having a difficult time. And it's showing up really dark now. With a clean brush, taking your purple color and just laying it down. Making sure you don't go over the lines. Also with watercolor, if you place this down and it dried, you can actually reactivate it by using more water. So again, yours would look a lot cleaner because it would have less of the sketch marks from our drawings. But in order for it to be picked up on camera, I have to kind of show what it is I am coloring in. Again, very light wash of color. This is only the basic foundation, so we haven't even truly began painting. There you go. So on camera, it shows differently. They are two different shades of purple, although it might not be picking up on camera. Another thing is we can add a background to make our piece more finished, but we have 11 minutes, so we'll continue painting our picture also in the next class, but we'll get as much done today as possible. So we'll continue with the many different shades of purple. So this one is almost like a baby purple, lilac-y color. Um, so the grass for our snow globe is also purple. So we'll grab a different shade of purple. And again, depending on how much red you add or how much blue you add or even yellow, you can determine how your purple turns out. So I will grab this one just from here. This purple almost looks like a wine color. And this purple will also look different on camera. So just give me 1 second to show you how it would look like close up and personal. Making sure that our paints kind of look even throughout the painting. So making sure that if you have like a darker spot, you also make sure that all the other spots are darker as well. Also, take your time when it comes to the globe because you don't want to rush through it because there is no erasing watercolor paints. You can lift the pigment up, but it won't go away completely. You can't erase paint. So on our page, we have 3 different types of purples. And we have 9 minutes remaining. So I'll let you catch up in terms of your paint creation. And then we'll see if there's one more purple we can add before carrying over to our second class, which I believe would be on August 4th. So August 4th is our next class. And right now our image just looks very basic. but that's fine. We'll add the shading, the details, all later.
Can you please show us the globe again?
Yeah, for sure. I can also show the picture where it doesn't have an air bubble just through it, but there you go. And you can also see that each lavender piece is a different shade of purple, but right now we just have one shade, and we'll do that later on. There's also some green. And then I'll bring up the image.
Thank you.
嗯
All right, that is the end of our class. I will see you all August 4th.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
So, Carmen, are we finished on next Monday?
Like, is it the last class ever?
No, I
过节。
mean, we haven't finished yet the painting, so we will do it.
Oh yeah,
we
on
will do it,
August, yeah, next Monday we will
oh.
continue with it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye. See ya.
See you.
Bye. See you.
Bye bye.
过节别走，过节别走，过节这儿呢，过节别走，过节别走，过节你别走啊！嗨，过节聊天儿，
Have a good day,
过节
everyone.
过节聊天儿，过节，你好，过节，嗨，
今年好了，你说
好了
吧。啊，
我怎么给你打电话你都没在家呀？或你不
哦，
敢，
我那个
可能出去了哈。
不是有
没事
的时候我出去散步去了，
哦，
有的时候，因为我那个吧是在房间里头，有的时候
啊
我在另一个地方，
对，
有时候我
对，
就听不
怎么样？
着，
你挺好的，
还好，还可
是吗
以，
还可以啊。那天我还跟那个春雨还说，我们俩还说呢，人家我们呢越长越难看，你怎么越长越好看呢？
是吗？
对呀，那个头发
哎呀，
也挺好。
让你说的我好高兴啊！
我看看你画的那个，我看看
今天的。
啊，今天的我没预备好那个颜色，水的
我这个
颜色
颜色也没弄完呢。
啊，